Hey everyone and welcome. We've all seen the sanctions that the West has effectively put on Russia. And we've also seen the lack of effect on Russia that those sanctions have done. Moreover, the sanctions have affected us.
The core is walking, and I can behold the tide.
The sanctions have affected us, and none more so than Africa. Now, it turns out that the EU are now getting terrified because Africa are turning on the EU and blaming the European Union for their chronic shortages. So I thought we'd have a look through the article, and then we'd have a look and see if the EU's words are correct or if the African nations' words are correct. The European Union leaders have begged those in Africa not to blame the West for the ongoing global food crisis, saying that the current sanctions on Russia shouldn't, remember the words, shouldn't be affecting supply. But it is though. Yeah, but it shouldn't. Yeah, but it is though. Yeah, but it shouldn't. That's what that means. The blame game for the developing global food crisis has well and truly begun. Yeah, of course it has, because people are going to start starving. And these sanctions, what number are we on now? The 6th level of sanctions are doing nothing whatsoever against Russia and affecting the nations that rely on grain, wheat, fertilizer, and all of the other things that come out of Russia and the Ukraine. And that's stating nothing about the supply lines being fractured due to lack of oil and fuel. With senior leaders within the European Union begging their counterparts in Africa not to blame Western powers for chronic shortages of grain and other essential resources, it comes as a competing narrative from Moscow which claims that Western sanctions on Russia are what is disrupting the global food trade. And those narratives are gaining traction in third world nations, the ones that are reliant, the ones that are going to starve if they don't get the food. Those ones. The EU figures are calling the claims misinformation. So I thought we'd have a quick look. So what Putin is actually saying is that the sanctions, and not only the sanctions, are reasons for the grain and the shipments not going out. And one of the main reasons they're claiming is Ukrainian sea mines in the Black Sea. Now obviously, Ursula von der Leyen, European Commission President, was keen to persuade senior African officials that Russia was to blame for any ongoing shortages during a summit on Tuesday. She said, and I quote, "It's a complete misinformation from Russia's side that Western sanctions are to blame. The only reason why we are struggling now with a food crisis is because of this brutal, unjustified war against the Ukraine," she said, before emphasising that she wanted to be very clear that Europe has no sanctions on food and agricultural products. What they do have, though, is a pipeline of weapons into said conflict area to prolong said conflict area, making sure that they don't need sanctions on food and agricultural products. It would do it naturally. So then, therefore, they can hold their hands up and say, "Wasn't us, governor," while it is them, in my honest opinion. Now, you're probably wondering about these Ukrainian sea mines that Russia are claiming are in the sea, and that's why that we can't get any ships into the Ukraine and get the Ukraine's grain. Well, it seems that it's not just Russia that are claiming that. Turkey, that are in the Black Sea, are also claiming that. Ukraine war. Turkey worries about floating mines in the Black Sea. So, proved. So when they say in the European Union that it's misinformation, that it's them and Ukraine that are causing the problem, and Putin comes out and says, "No, actually it's you to blame," he's right and the EU are lying to you. Now, on top of the problem with the grain out of the Ukraine, Russia have played the sanction game themselves, and can you blame them, to be honest? So now they're actually saying unless the sanctions on their nation by the Western nations are lifted, you won't be getting any of their wheat or grain either. And the biggest thing is, the Russian crop this year is the biggest one they've had for decades. So he's got plenty to bargain with. So it's absolutely disgusting that the EU are effectively coming out and saying, we know you're going to be starving, and we know you've got shortages on across the board, and it's going to be really, really bad for you. Just don't blame us, all right? Absolutely shocking, isn't it, everyone? Let me know what you think. I'd like to know your opinion. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like, comment, subscribe. Do you think the EU's to blame? Do you think Russia's to blame? Let me know in the comment. Stay sane. See you on the next one.